I think in an aggregate, AI is likely to create more new jobs than we know of today. Will it disrupt existing jobs as we know them? 100%. Geopolitics is making it complex to work with technologies around the world. Way before Gen AI or agentic AI was in the vocabulary for the world, we were building this AI company out of India for the world. If there's a top 3 race for AI in the world, US, China clearly in the lead. India could have its own sweet spot as the application leader and talent leader. I'm a big optimist on AI creating more jobs, more prosperity.
Hello and welcome to USISPF Conversations, our preeminent podcast where we interview experts on a range of macroeconomic and geopolitical issues, particularly trying to get our board members' perspectives on what they're seeing, hearing, and working on. And today, I'm delighted to be joined by Umesh Sachdev of Uniphore. Umesh, welcome.
Great to be on the show, Akshobh.
Perfect. From Washington to California and now in New Delhi. Umesh, we first met in 2023 during the historic state visit of Prime Minister Modi, and that's when he famously quipped, AI is America and India. Now you live both those AIs, you live the American and the Indian world, and you live in the Uniphore AI's verse. So how does AI now act as a bridge builder in the technology bridge between the United States and India?
Well, it's great to be talking to you again, and you're right. What distance we've covered since 23 to now, when Prime Minister Modi visited to the India AI Impact Summit here in New Delhi. Now, Uniphore, which is an AI company headquartered in Silicon Valley, was actually founded in an incubation lab in IIT Madras. And way before Gen AI or agentic AI was in the vocabulary for the world, we were building this AI company out of India for the world. And as we scale, we moved our headquarters to Silicon Valley, and today we serve over 2,500 clients, several of which are Fortune 500 companies using our data and AI platform. So from our vantage point, what we get to see is how the entire world is adopting AI. And I will tell you, there is no one size fits all. Clearly, North America is in a very big lead when it comes to deep tech, large language models, GPUs, the adoption of agentic AI in the enterprise. If there's one country which is a very close second, if we can call it that, that's China. Very close in the race to US in AI. After that, the whole world is figuring it out. Europe is trying to figure out sovereign AI. India wants its own sovereign AI. India wants to be emancipated and not be completely reliant on a handful of large tech companies outside, coming out of the US. And I think we're going to see a very fascinating set of geopolitical developments combined with technology innovation. But I'd say I would fancy India has a very good chance of becoming part of the top 3 club in AI.
The wonderful thing about having this conversation with you, you've led me to my next questions, because you touched upon your own personal story, the IIT Madras Incubation Center. One of the things we always laud about is the IITs producing the best minds in the world. Sundar Pichai is here as an IIT and so many others. But the lacuna has always been that the tech talent in India has to find a tech ecosystem in the US, from grad school to PhDs to Silicon Valley, where you're housed right now. Even though the IITs produce the best minds, they don't come up in the top 100 best universities. So where are the gaps right now in fixing the innovation labs? Like, how can we get the IITs to the MIT levels of just the innovation labs, or are they already somewhere on the way there?
So I think you hit upon a very important point, Akshobh. If there are 2 areas of this AI economy where India has a clear shot at leading the world and not be a follower even to the US and China, the first one is become the leader of AI adoption. Number of applications, number of use cases that India is already using AI for, it's leading the world, and it can be the diffusion capital of AI. The second, which I don't think enough people appreciate, is as AI adoption in the world grows, I'm in the camp that AI is likely to create a lot more jobs than people fear being taken away. And as that happens, which one will be the world's talent factory for AI? That's going to be India. If you look at the leadership position of most big tech companies in the US, CEO, C-suite of those companies, Indian Americans dominate those AI companies and their leadership positions. So India already is the talent leader, where it's supplying talent to the whole world, including leadership talent in AI. To your point of IITs and what's missing, The one thing that's special about Silicon Valley isn't necessarily the difference in the university education system versus India, is the fact that when a grad comes out of Stanford or Berkeley and joins in either an AI startup or a big tech firm in Silicon Valley, they get this very fast moving flywheel of whatever they're building is getting adopted. Because American as a society is also big in adopting new technologies, whether it's enterprise or consumer. And the developer or the engineer who works on those new technology gets to get real world experience super fast. Up until recently, that was missing for grads coming out of IITs. That's why they had to go to the US to gain that real world experience. Now, the two things that I mentioned, India as being the application capital, India being the talent capital. As India deploys more and more AI, then the talent coming out of IITs will get to have real world experience and the quality will start to go up in terms of maturity. So I think this flywheel is just about beginning to work for India. And that's what gives me the optimism that India would be the third wheel in if there's a top three race for AI in the world, US, China clearly in the lead. India could have its own sweet spot as the application leader and talent leader.
Let's touch on what you said right now about US-China thing, because in an earlier conversation we spoke about the space forum in Bangalore where you're headed to next. What was the Cold War defining? The space race. And we see as the US-China geopolitical competition heats up, when we hear so many things about Chinese tech companies and security and data breaches and data localization. Do you see AI as the next phase of, we're not in a Cold War, but some sort of similarity of the space race between the US and Soviet Union, between US and China? And given if India is playing a key role now in AI, where does India fit in this sort of new AI race?
You know, as a tech entrepreneur, as a CEO of a fast-growing AI company in Uniphore, I want to say that geopolitics doesn't come into our trade, but unfortunately, that's not true. As Uniphore does business in countries outside of US, when I go to meet European customers, it is now a very open conversation that my customers ask me that, Umesh, you're an American company headquartered in Silicon Valley. We are using your technology to power our AI ambitions. What if someday the US president says we can't have access to
Yeah.
Uniphore because it's an American company, or it's behind a tariff or geopolitics? So this sovereignty topic is very big outside of US. Everywhere I go, it's big in Europe, it's big in Middle East, and now it's very big in India. And it's very understandable. Geopolitics is making it complex to work with technologies around the world. The fact that the Uniphore platform, which we call the Business AI Cloud, was already designed to be a sovereign platform, is allowing us to work around the world. Even though we're headquartered in Silicon Valley, we are able to deliver a sovereign AI solution to different countries. And I think you're 100% right. We're going to see more and more of this trend of, if it wasn't built here, is it right for us?
You're in Delhi for this AI summit. It's the first time it's happened in the global south. French President Emmanuel Macron's here. We've had the Crown Prince of UAE and many others here. What are we seeing right now in the intersection of private sector, where tech entrepreneurs like yourself are talking to public policy leaders? And what have you taken from this particular AI summit? You've attended many other AI conferences before, but this is obviously one of a kind in India. What are some of the key conversations you're taking away?
Yeah, clearly, what's fascinating to me is while the motivations might be similar across the world, the approaches could not be more different.
Yeah.
For example, what are we seeing this week in New Delhi? We are seeing a clear intent by the government of India to democratize AI. That's unique to India. I have not seen it anywhere else in the world. And how did it manifest itself? Instead of having a conference of, call it the top 100 CEOs with the top 100 government leaders, what did New Delhi do? Open it up to 400,000 participants who were all allowed in an open access to attend this expo. That's unique. That scale is unique and truly democratized the access. In the panels I've been on in the last couple of days, each room has had a good participation of young students, which are going to be the next generation entrepreneurs. And they were getting access to the tech leaders, the startup leaders, and listening and learning. So that is one unique difference. The second unique difference is when one goes to these kind of expos around the globe, again, you get to see 30, 40, maybe 50 stalls being put up. The Bharat Mandapam had 900 stalls. Government of India did not discriminate how much funding a startup had or not, were you a big company or not. If you had an idea and you applied, they made the space available, and everyone is allowed to showcase their technologies. And as President Macron is walking and or Prime Minister Modi is walking, each startup has a chance to showcase. So the fact that India is taking this view of democratizing AI in a sovereign way, that's very unique to India. And again, at Uniphore, we have over half our R&D population working out of India in Bangalore and Chennai.
Yep.
We have our AI innovation hub in one of the IIT research parks in Chennai. And so it's a moment of pride for even Uniphore to see how India is ready to take stride and take a very unique position in the world of AI.
Umesh, on a final note, here's a juxtaposition for you. You're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs create jobs. There's the tech element of proliferating new sectors, but AI is set to disrupt jobs and take those away. And particularly the interesting epiphany that you added right now is computer science is perhaps losing vogue because AI is taking over that. So how do you think about that from your perspective in terms of we're creating jobs as Uniphore, creating more jobs, but AI as a sector may replace some of these jobs. So how do you work with that juxtaposition?
Obviously, this is a topic I think deeply about, not only as the CEO of Uniphore, which is an AI company, but as a father of a teenager and toddler who will join the workforce
Yeah.
in the next decade. And so that makes me think deeply about where this is heading. At the macro, I'm very optimistic. I think AI is leading us to what I call an age of abundance. An age of abundance where productivity will go up. Each one of us will be achieving a lot more with the same amount of effort or time that we'll be spending. The earnings of publicly traded companies are likely to rise dramatically. Profit margins are likely to
Yeah.
grow. And countries, US, India included, let's not be surprised if we see the GDP growth rates
Yeah.
of each of these countries start to accelerate. I expect a 6 print in front of the US GDP, and I expect a 10 print in front of the Indian GDP, driven because of AI adoption. So, what does it all mean in terms of jobs? I think in an aggregate, AI is likely to create more new jobs than we know of today. Will it disrupt existing jobs as we know them? 100%. Is there likely to be a near-term disruption before people are reskilled for the new type of work and they only know a few things and that AI is now more efficient to do that and we don't need human beings to do it? Yes, there's going to be this skilling dislocation in the near term, and that's what I want policymakers and government leaders to very myopically focus on. But if I blink and say we get past that initial phase, I think we're likely to see more jobs with higher wages because at an aggregate profit margins, productivity, GDP would be higher, and human beings would likely be paid more for the next type of jobs that AI will require them to do because AI agents and these models are going to be supplementing our work. So near to medium term, maybe some disruption, but in the long term, I'm a big optimist on AI creating more jobs, more prosperity.
Deep thoughts, deep tech. Umesh, AI solves a lot of problems. The one thing it doesn't solve is more time. We can't create more time with AI. Maybe you're onto something, but until then, Umesh Sachdev, thank you so much for the conversation.
Always a pleasure, Akshobh.